Welcome back to the Legacy Builder podcast, where it is our job to talk about all things business related. We oftentimes talk about things that even if you're not a business owner or in business, you could benefit from. If you have a family, a spouse, if you have goals, there are things about this on this podcast we talk about that can help improve your life. Today with us, we have Jeanne Scharf, business planning consultant. Jeanne, good morning.
Good morning, Jared.
So we have a fun topic here that we're going to talk about, something that hits home to you with your background and what you've done for a long time. And that's about having good relationships with your lender, a lender. 2020 has been the most interesting year for most people. And we're recording this now on the tail end of 2020. Why is it a good idea to have a good relationship with a lender? I mean, why is that a valid conversation?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, in any year, 2020 or another year, it's really important for you to have a good relationship with your lender. Really, in good times and in bad, that's really when the relationship comes into play. So when you look at how you work with your lender and the expectations they may have of you, and frankly, the expectations you may have of them, it's really quite important for that you have a good fit.
Now, what if you're a business without a lot of debt? What if you're one of those lucky businesses that have been able to build your business off cash flow and profits? Is it still valid to have a relationship with a lender?
Well, it really is, because you never really know when you might need the services of a lender. It's very important that you have a seasoned relationship, even if you don't have a lot of debt, because at some point in time, maybe you want to expand your business. You want to be sure that your lender has a good understanding of where you are today and where you may be in the future, so that your business can grow at the speed you want it to grow at.
Yep, absolutely. And as I look at that, where we are right now in time, in 2020, when this is being recorded, there are a lot of people that have been having conversations with lenders that they didn't think that they would need to be having. Maybe they had a business that was operating smooth before, and all of a sudden now they've had major disruptions or interruptions in their business. You don't want to wait until you absolutely need the money until you forge a relationship with a lender. It's good to be on good standing at times.
That's exactly right. In my career, I have seen businesses go from no debt at all to almost losing their businesses, depending on the industry that they're in. And so it's critically important for businesses to have a good relationship with a lender for that exact reason, Jared.
So what should a business be looking for in a lender? If you're out there looking and looking across, there's tons of different lending relationships out there, different types. What kind of questions should a business be asking?
Well, I always tell folks to interview a lender as hard as maybe a lender's going to interview you. So you want to be sure that you are partnering up with a lender that has the same philosophies that you might have. Are they a lender in good times and in bad? A lot of times that phrase gets tossed about in the industry, but really, what does that mean? Really understand how patient that lender might be when your business is having some stress financially or from a production standpoint. It's just critical that you have the same philosophy or similar philosophy that your lender carries to the marketplace.
Any examples of some questions that a business owner should be asking when they go meet with their lender to learn about that? I mean, how do you understand if a lender is going to be a good fit for you?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I think that it's really important that a business owner understands if the lender really truly understands the business that they're in. In other words, do they know the industry? Do they have an understanding of the industry, so that as you go in and speak with your lender, what kind of information are they looking for? Or is it really kind of a high level, they don't understand your business, and so you have to work harder to potentially get financing for the goals that you want to achieve in your business. So really that understanding of the industry is critically important in my view. And then also getting back to the philosophies around how often are they willing to extend payments, for example, if you need to take a forbearance, or Do they understand what your cash cycle is in your business so that they have the payment structured appropriately?
Yep. That brings up a story here recently that a client that we were working with, that it was a vegetable grower, and the bank did not understand how the business really made money. They didn't understand its cash flows, and they simply just jumped to collateralize most of the real estate always. They didn't really, they didn't have the right operating lines set up. They just grabbed as much collateral as possible, and it really wasn't the best fit for the client, but the lender flat out said, we don't really know what's going on. And that's not what you're wanting to hear from times if you're talking with your lender, that they can't explain your business, at least to a reasonable level. So that's something good to be thinking of there. So if you're a business owner, you grow you find a lender that you feel comfortable with, that's a good fit, personalities match, the company's structure matches your business and their philosophy, like you said, you feel like you're really clicking. What do you supply to the lender? Do you simply show them your year-end bank statement, every year, and say, "Here, I got money. I'm good," or should it get deeper than that? What do you think?
Oh, certainly, I think it should be much deeper than that. I think that's where you can really leverage that relationship with your lender.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be sure and provide them with good quality financial information, balance sheets at year-end, accrual earnings statements, ratios that you're targeting in your business so that the lender understands where you expect your business to be today and into the future.
Yep.
Certainly a budget comes into play for the following year or multiple years thereafter. What is a rolling capital plan for your business? In other words, how many trucks do you expect to purchase, or other kinds of farm machinery if you're in agricultural production? If you're in livestock production, what do you expect in terms of your breeding herd?
Yep, absolutely. So good balance sheets, income statements, explanations of your cash flows for the upcoming year, of what you think it's going to be. That can go a long ways, can it, to demonstrating to the bank that you understand your business inside and out. There's a lot of business owners out there that understand their business, but they don't understand it from the numbers perspective. Well, that's what the lenders are looking for, aren't they? They want to, so that way you understand your business and the finances of what's going on, and it's the business owner's job to understand their business from a financial perspective better than the lender. But that's not always the case.
Absolutely, absolutely. What you want to demonstrate to your lender is really, Jared, what you're talking about, your overall management of your business. And that doesn't just include production. That includes financial management as well. And so what's the story that you're going to bring to the lender at the end of the year or even during the year in terms of how well your business is done, where it's going, and how you operate the business as the manager? And
why is that important? Does a lender only look at equity, for example? Is that their only criteria in how they decide whether a client's bankable? I mean, how does a business or a lender, judge a business?
They'll look at it from a number of different perspectives. And so firstly, they'll look at your financial position. Again, your owner equity or your debt to asset ratio, your net worth. What is your working capital? In other words, how much liquidity does the business have? That's an important factor. And then, of course, how can a business repay the loan on a timely basis? So that's repayment capacity, and how does that look for your particular business? So those financial pieces aside, the lender will also look at your management capabilities. Mm-hmm. How skilled are you as the manager of the business to carry that business forward into the future in whatever direction it's going to take?
Yep.
Also, there's the production aspect of it, but if you're managing your financial numbers and you're managing your production, ultimately, I have seen many circumstances where the lender really will hang their hat on the management piece.
Yep, absolutely. There's many times where we've seen the lender come back and say, we're going to stand behind that business because we trust them. we have faith in them. They're someone that we want to do business with. We might extend ourselves a little bit further for that particular client compared to the next one. And it's not simply because they just pick on a business, or it's because they demonstrated the ability to manage their business accordingly. And that just grows trust in the lender when you clearly communicate, tell a good story. That can go as far as anything else in working with a lender.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So if you're getting ready here at the end of the year, we talked about the documents that should be shared. Usually a lot of businesses right now, after the first of the year, they're putting together their balance sheets, they're finalizing their cash flows. Should that stuff be brought right into the lender? I mean, is that something that you should just be mailed in, emailed? How often? I mean, should you look for a sit-down meeting with that lender? I mean, what do you usually tell clients? And it might be situational, but...
Absolutely. Now, I would actually err on the side of meeting with your lender at least annually, depending upon the complexity of your business. You really would like to have that opportunity to tell your story to your lender so that they have a clear understanding of what you've done in the past year and where are you going for the future year or 2 or 3.
Yep.
That's a critical part, I believe, of the lender relationship.
Yep, absolutely. And you talked about something a little bit ago about the lender standards. Are all those standards for all banks the same? Do they kind of govern by one standard that's put out by the federal government or something? Or do banks sometimes have different requirements?
Sure. Each bank is really charged with developing their own sets of financial standards for their customers.
Okay.
And so that gets back to the first question you asked me around, how do you find a lender that is comparable or compatible with your business? That's one of the questions you're going to want to certainly ask them about is, what are their expectations in terms of financial measurements for your business? Mm-hmm. And then how does that tie back into what your expectations are as a business owner for your business?
Absolutely. And it's so important to understand those standards for your lender. If they're an owner equity, what's kind of a standard owner equity percentage
Sure.
that a lot of banks might go off of? I mean, do you have a number?
Yeah, 50% is generally
Okay.
the standard.
Yeah.
And then it may vary from there, either downward or upward. But 50% is pretty much in the ballpark.
Right. And one thing that I've seen you do before, Jeannie, is to coach clients to say, that's the lender's standards. That's to help protect their capital. Yes, it's to protect your business, but just because it's the lender standards doesn't mean that should be the standards for your business.
Exactly.
You should have standards that are ahead of the business. So that way you're protecting your capital before it gets to a point where the bank is knocking on your door asking for things to change. If a lender's standards for working capital are here, and a lot of our clients, it's in agriculture, if it's working capital per acre or per cow or per sow, well, you should probably have standards then that are higher than that are elevated even further, so that way you're always demonstrating those financial skill sets ahead of what the lender is going to be waiting for.
Absolutely, absolutely. You really don't want a third party really driving your business metrics. As a business owner, you want to be able to set those business metrics on your own, mm-hmm. and making sure then, as part of that you are a bankable business.
Yep. And now, what if you got to dip below those standards? What if you're a good steward, you've understood where your lender stands, and you're seeing that you're gonna drop below the ship deck for a little bit? How do you have that conversation with your lender? Do you just hope they don't find out, and that you fix it before they come around again for a review, or what do you think?
Absolutely not. The best way to inform or keep your lender informed is to tell your story. This is what has occurred this year. Yes, some of the metrics are not where I'd like them to be, but this is my plan in terms of how we are going to correct the situation, and this is how we're going to do it. Mm-hmm. So you set the expectation, You tell the story, and then you also follow up with, this is how we're going to correct some of the things that have happened in our operation over the course of the last year so that we can be successful for the future.
Yeah, okay, no, absolutely. And again, we're recording this here in October, 7, 8, 9, 10 months into this COVID pandemic that we've had. We've seen a lot of clients have some level of disruption, some level of change in cash flow, and we're seeing some businesses out there that can't meet all their payments, or their current debt structure isn't working for them. If they need to have that conversation with their lender about a possible refinance, how do you brace that conversation? Because it might not be a fun one. Where do you start, Jeannie?
Sure. So as you think back to some of the conversation we've had already, one of the ideal situations would be for a customer to have the conversation or have been having that conversation throughout 2020 periodically with their lender. So the lender is kept informed along the way. Even if you haven't done that, it's okay because you can start to do it now. Be proactive. Don't bury your head in the sand. Many businesses are having the same kinds of challenges that you may be faced today as a business.
Yep.
And so that open, proactive communication with your lender, particularly now, is key. Don't be afraid to go into your lender. These are the facts, and this is what we see for the future.
Yep, absolutely. It can be so valuable to know that before your lender does.
Absolutely.
And your lender, the lender, usually has enough clients out there that they have to be the proactive one. They're the one going to the client saying, it's time that we do this. If you demonstrate the ability to walk into your client's office your lender, or you call your lender and say, we ran our budget for the upcoming year, we have our indicators in place, we feel that we need to take these steps to maintain our business the way that we want to. We want to restructure this note out longer. We want to term out this part of maybe our operating line. Here are the reasons why, and here's what we're going to do going forward, so that way we're not in this situation again. You probably earn some brownie points with your lender if you come to the table with those conversation starters.
Absolutely, you're spot on, Jared. Spot on.
Yeah. Okay. So what are some other things here anything else that's coming to your mind, Jeannie, that should be thought about as we talk about this? Anything else we've missed on this conversation piece?
One of the things that I think back to, particularly over the course of the year in the agricultural sector, and really in row crop production, I don't often see budget to actual statements. In other words, if you've done a budget for the following year, how closely are you tracking your expenses and your income according to what you projected your performance would be? This would be an ideal year to be able to tell that story. Because if you think back to the year end 2019, you may have set a budget and then roll into 2020. Prices have been all over the board where you perhaps pegged your inventory values at the end of 2019, changed drastically into the first 6 months of the year.
Yep.
And then the production levels throughout the year actually had some very good weather. We're hearing phenomenal production levels at various areas, particularly here in southern Minnesota. And so what that means is your budget could be supported even though you may have had some additional expenses during the year that you weren't counting on, or the inventory values were less. And so that's a great story to be able to tell your lender. So as you think through and prepare to budget for your 2021 year, a very important part of that budget process is to take it off the shelf after it's done,
Right.
and compare your actual performance to that budget throughout the year.
Yep, absolutely. Nope, that's perfect. Well, Jeannie, if anything else that we've missed, otherwise this has been a very good conversation. It should hopefully shed some light as we come into the end of the year about some things that people should be thinking about in terms of talking with their lender. If you don't have a lender, get one. Even if you don't need one today, it's good to have that relationship set up before you need to. You don't want to call them when the house is on fire. You know, you only want
Absolutely
you want
not.
to save that for the fire department, not for when you got to borrow money or whatnot.
Exactly.
So, Jeannie, thank you so much, and looking forward to talking to you later.
Thank you, Jared. I as well.